Tell us first of all how you got into knife making.
I've made knives all my life, usually as a hobby, because I've always enjoyed making things with my hands. I used to live in Guatemala, and I was the manager of a jade jewelry factory. And next door to the factory lived an American who had collected knives for a long time, and he had magazines and books, and he showed them to me, and he looked at my machinery for carving jade, and he said, you could be making knives because the machinery is very similar. So I started making knives, and I had a friend who was a professional photographer, and he told me once that for a photographer, you should always let the first roll of film pay for the second roll of film. And I said to myself, what I'll try to do is make a knife that somebody will buy so I can then go on to make more knives and let the first knife pay for the second knife. And that actually worked out well. I joined the Knife Makers Guild, and I would travel from Guatemala up to the United States to come to knife shows. Okay. And that's how the career started.
And where were your clients at that time? In the United States?
In the United States and in Guatemala also, because there was a great deal of trouble between guerrillas, communists, and there were a lot of soldiers of fortune, mercenaries, adventurers, private security people, and I got to know them all very well. And I would make knives for them to use in the jungles.
Ah, yes.
So that was where my career actually started. Okay. And then I developed clients in the United States and also around the world.
So what inspires you? What inspires your knife making, and what inspires you to choose the metal, the different stones and things?
A couple of factors. One, my philosophy has always been to make a knife that is practical, usable, easy to carry, easy to deploy quickly, and something to be a companion in difficult times, either for self-defense or in the field to make a camp, to do firewood, to skin animals, to do whatever has to be done. I have made some very fancy knives, but very few. That's not what I enjoy doing most. Okay. What I enjoy doing most are using knives that people will actually carry with them and be able to use during the day or during an expedition, for example. First of all, I try to use the very best materials that I can find. Second of all, I enjoy being innovative, using unusual materials or different materials. For example, I was one of the very first people to use titanium in a knife.
Yes.
Michael Walker was number one, I was number two.
Yes, yes.
For a very expensive knife, I have made expensive decorated knives. I used to make knives of gold, but once I made a knife of platinum.
Yes.
And there have been, as far as I know, only 2 knives made with platinum that were custom knives. One was Ron Lake, and the other was mine.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
The steels that I try to use stainless steels, steels that can be easily sharpened, but will hold up very well in field use, skinning, and so forth.
Okay. And you brought a knife to show
I
us
did.
today. Can you tell us about this knife?
Yes. This is one of my models. I call it an Eagle Rock variant. And Eagle Rock is the name of the street that I live on in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yes.
And when I moved there, I decided to have a knife named after that street because Eagle Rock sounded really nice. So that was the name of it. And it's a carbon fiber handle with a titanium liner on both sides. The style is a liner lock. And the blade is what I call a harpoon design, harpoon shape or profile. And it has a thumb disc at the top, which is one of my inventions. There you see many knives today, both commercial and custom, that use that disc on the blade, which is used for opening it with the thumb with one hand.
Yeah.
And it can also be used in the left hand on the other side. But this disc was my invention many years ago.
I was going to say, when did you invent that?
It would have been probably about 1987.
Yes.
I started making knives professionally in 1980. I started making folding knives in about 1986.
Okay, so
And that
very quickly after that.
very shortly after
Yes.
that, yes.
Yes, yes. Okay, and do you make all parts of the knife?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The blades and the handles I have cut out by water jet. But the blades are what I call a generic shape.
Yes.
They're just square, just like that. And then
Yes.
each individual one I'll grind to a slightly different shape
Yes.
rather than having them
Yes.
all made exactly the same.
Yes.
So that's all custom done. The angles, what we call the bevels
Yes.
over here, it's all ground by hand. I literally,
You
and my wife says that I have, because of my panzone, that I'm able to grind
Yes.
that way. Yeah.
And this allows people to.
This is a
put
pocket
it in
clip.
the pocket.
Yeah,
Yes.
carry it in a pocket clip. This was invented first by the man who owns Spider Co., Sal Glesser, but I was the first one to use it on a custom knife.
Yes.
His knives were commercially made,
Yes.
Spider Co.
Yeah.
I was the first one to use a clip on a custom knife, handmade knife. This is all titanium. The metal is either stainless steel or titanium. And the stainless steel is in the titanium is in the center.
Thank you. And my last question, what do you think of the show this weekend?
It's a beautiful show.
Okay.
This is one of the nicest venues that I've ever been in. And one of the reasons is because of the natural light
Exactly.
that comes in through the skylights
Yeah.
and through the windows.
Yes.
It's a beautiful venue. There's a lot of room,
Yeah.
and the natural light brings out the materials very nicely.
Yes.
Not so much on mine because I have carbon fiber, micarta, and so forth, but for the other people that have mammoth ivory,
Yes.
different kinds of wood,
With different colors.
different colors,
Yes.
the natural light is just absolutely perfect. So my congratulations to Eve, Matthew, and Miss Sue Thomas
Thank
for
you.
having a beautiful show, and I thank you very much for inviting me here.